I was asked this morning to speak on judgment, and so I want to try to give it just a few minutes to get a proper perspective on the concept of judgment. And that may not sound like a hey, good morning, let's talk about judgment, but all of us understand the need for it, the concept of it. Because I'm going to give you an illustration real quick. Let's just say that the senior boys have been lined up out there patiently waiting to get on the slide, and one of the intermediate girls just comes pushing her way through. You know how they do. Just pushing her way through, pushes right to the front of the line and zips down right in front of all the boys. What do they say? What would their reaction be?
That's not fair.
That's not fair. They had been waiting patiently. One of these pushy young girls just wrecks everything. That's the concept of justice. We have an idea that some things are right and some things are wrong. And that's the foundation of judgment, is to establish justice. If you don't understand the concept of justice, you have no ability to judge. Or you may judge selfishly, or you may judge you may judge wrongly. But you still understand that an attempt at judgment is an attempt to establish something like justice. I want to read some scripture. I'm always thankful when certain scriptures just make everything perfectly clear. And they say it better than man could say it. And in Proverbs chapter 28, verse 5, Proverbs chapter 28, verse 5, you can write it down. I'll read it for you. If you're taking notes, you just say Proverbs 28, 5. This is a verse I'm going to go on and memorize. But it says, I'll wait for a second. I love to hear the scriptures being opened, so we'll wait for it. Proverbs 28, verse 5. If you're following along, you'll just read with me. It says in Proverbs 28, verse 5, evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. Evil men understand not judgment, and there's such a harshness that people are able to grab hold of when they say, "Judge not, that you be not judged." You know, everybody loves that verse if they need that to be their get out of jail free card. They don't want you to judge them, so they have that memorized. But in claiming that, they're demonstrating that they have no concept of judgment, of justice, of righteousness. They don't have the ability to say. They just want freedom from the law. They want their own righteousness. I love how clear that is. Evil men understand not judgment. Since you already turned there, turn back like 4 pages to the left. Proverbs chapter 21. Proverbs 21. Verse 3. It says, "To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice." The Lord has always intended for there to be right and wrong. It's based on His concept of right and wrong. Our whole system of judgment, especially when our nation started, it was founded upon taking this as being the cornerstone.
Supreme law.
This is the supreme law. This established the division between right and wrong, and our nation tried to say, we're going to let this be our foundation. We're going to build from this a system of government that is able to maintain as best as we can right and wrong. And we've since tried to take it our own direction We've tried to, let me just give you a quick illustration. Our founding document for our system of government is the United States, what's the document called? The Constitution. How many pages did they require to write the entire Constitution? You know? 4. They wrote the entire basis of our system of government on 4 pages. Wrote it by hand. It's on 4 pieces of paper. Do you know why they thought we better keep this thing simple? Because they knew they were going to have to be judges. They knew they would have to judge rightly. They would have to say, that's right and that's wrong. And unfortunately, sometimes now we get things so convoluted. Now our laws are 2,000 pages long, 3,000 pages long. What a messed up thing to have to judge. You know, when I watch those intermediate girls out there pushing their way to the top, it's easy for me to judge because, you know, we have laws against slides being taken over. And it's easy for me to say, but man, when I have to look at 2,000 pages of law, it's hard to judge. So our nation understood simplicity. They understood laws because they would have to judge. I want you to turn now with me to Matthew chapter 7. Let's go to the verse that our wayward counterparts love to use to say, don't you talk to me about judgment. Don't you talk to me about right and wrong. Don't you put those things in my face. I want you to understand why it's important for us to want judgment. We should desire judgment. I'm going to give you an illustration. I've thought about this often. I've thought, what if I got in trouble? Maybe what if I decided I wanted to go on a vacation? Maybe I wanted to go to Guatemala for some reason. I don't know. Maybe what if I ended up in North Korea? That would be exciting. What if I ended up in North Korea and they said, that one is a spy? Even if I came for good intentions, you know what? If I was in North Korea and they said I was a spy, guess what I would be? I'd be a spy. Because they said I was a spy. Not because I was doing right or doing wrong. They say, I'm the judge. You're a spy. I've thought about this all my life. If I got into trouble, I would want somebody who would hear my case, who would judge with wisdom, who would say, wait a minute, this guy's not a threat, he's not a spy, he's not causing trouble. I would want there to be a righteous judge. All of us need to understand the concept of judgment because there's a need to establish righteousness and judgment and purity of the law, not some self-serving, I need you to be a spy because I need to prove that I'm doing a job. I don't know why they would do those things, but I would be a victim of somebody who was misinterpreting or misusing the office of a judge. I understand why some people would say, don't you judge me. They may have been judged wrongly. But let's look at Matthew chapter 7, and let's look for the reason that we should want to be judges. We should want to establish judgment. Favorite verse, Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. Judge not, that ye be not judged. That's the end of their reading. That's the end of any concept of judgment. But keep reading. It says, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. For all of us in this room, that should be good news. That should be good news that we can say, I'm going to go through my life, and every chance I get, I'm going to judge according to righteous Scripture. I'm going to give mercy. I'm going to give compassion. I'm going to give I'm going to give the benefit of being judged by righteousness to the people that I come into contact with. I'm going to judge them with righteousness, and then guess what? God promises when we judge with righteousness, guess what happens? We are then judged by that righteousness. What a wonderful thought. It doesn't need to be a fearful thing to say, judge not that ye be not judged, for with what judgment ye judge, to me that's not something to run away from. That's something to cling to and say, our God has promised us that He will judge us with this as well. If we judge with this, He will judge with this. What a blessed thought that we can establish righteousness in the nation by judging others with this. We will be judged by what standard we judge. I had that thought in my mind that people run from judgment. I want us to do like John chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7 says, judge not that you be not judged. John chapter 7 clarifies some part of that, and it says, judge righteous judgment. It says, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. And that has such reward for you. If you judge with righteous judgment, it is returned to you as righteous judgment. So thankful for that. To close out, let's look at a verse that all my life, I'm not sure when this, Micah. Find the book of Micah if you can. All my life this verse has just been stuck in my head. I'm not sure when it was put there. But as we learn in church camp this week, as we learned yesterday about the salvations and forgiveness, and as we learn today about the kingdom of heaven, tomorrow about a righteous nation, let us learn with the idea that we will be called upon to say, this is how I judge righteousness, and this is right and this is wrong. We're learning the foundation by which we will be judges. Micah chapter 6, verse 8. Micah chapter 6, verse 8 says, He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. I came to this, of course, for that first part, but that really does sum up our whole challenge while we walk here on this earth. He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly. And it keeps going. That's the part I came for, to do justly. Do what's right. You're going to have to judge. Judge righteously. You're going to have to live. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to be a husband. You're going to have to be a wife. You're going to have to be a boss. You're going to have to be an employee. You're going to have to be all of those roles. Do it with justice. Do it justly. And love mercy and walk humbly with your God. So, as you experience somebody that throws that on you, judge not that ye be not judged. You certainly have to use discernment. Do I really want to have the conversation with this person? Are they really showing any fruit of the Spirit? Should I really interact with them? If it's somebody that comes to you with humility, you can help them understand. Brother, that's not a verse to run away from. That's our job. We have to judge righteous judgment. And we establish that righteousness, and it's returned to us as we live and walk here.